Hey, this is Richie Marufo from the Barbed Wire Open Mic Series, aka BWOMs, and you're listening to the El Paso Creators Podcast Show. If you haven't already, make sure to follow them on Instagram, YouTube, and other social media. Without further ado, here's the show. Check it.
Hi, this is Billy Towns, and I'm happy to be here today. Thank you, Isaac, on the El Paso Creative Podcast Show. And Isaac, we're going to have a lot of fun talking about my background, my bio, and the stuff that I have coming up too. So it's going to be fun.
Of course. I'm very excited to talk about your whole different background and everything you've done and accomplished in your whole jazz career, but even your music career and also your film production career. Mm-hmm. So just to give myself a quick introduction, hey guys, my name is Isaac Hernandez. I'm your host for the El Paso Creators Podcast Show. And so, Billy, just for anybody who doesn't know who you are or what you do, just give yourself like a quick 2-3 minute introduction of who you are and what you do.
Okay. Basically, for the most part, I am a professional musician, and I've played around the Southwest and the United States and beyond for, about 35 years now, about 35 years. And I play professionally, especially here in El Paso. And I'm also a professor at the El Paso Community College and at UTEP. I teach jazz performance for high school students at Coronado High School and for the other school districts. And I also adjudicate jazz festivals. And my latest thing, which we'll talk about, of course, is I'm a film producer and director of feature films. And the latest one that's coming up is Border Lords 3, Bloodlines. And you know what? I've been doing it for a long time. And the more I do it, Isaac, the more it goes along, the more fun I have, because you just learn how to have fun and learn how to get it right and learn how to get it out to the public. So it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
Absolutely. I agree. And what I really like about, because I want to touch into your journey and how you grew up in the music career and how you learned, especially like going to different countries and things like that. But what I really like about what you said is that you're also a teacher and an advocate to teach other people about the creative industry, art industry. So I guess that kind of ties into like how you grew up and how you were taught that, and how you going through that experience is why you're probably doing it now, and you're giving it back to like teaching people. So why don't you touch a little bit about your whole background on like what got you into music, jazz, and I also saw the piano in there. So what really got you started? How did you get started?
Okay, basically, when it comes down, when you break it, the DNA down, my mother was a piano teacher. And so practically coming out of the womb, Isaac, I was playing piano so much, but she was a piano teacher. She got us started.
Awesome.
And so that's my music background, and watching her play throughout my whole life, when she was alive, it was just so inspirational. And she was a classical player, and she loved jazz. And then her playing all the pop tunes and Broadway tunes and everything, she loved those, got me into playing those. And of course, gravitating towards jazz, which I really got into at high school, at Urban High School. I'm an Urban High School graduate. And my band director, Jimmy Olivas, who I'll be playing with tonight at Landry's, we still play together. He's the one that really pushed me towards of really getting into jazz. And the rest was history. Loved it. And then I just studied it more, played more in college, and really studied the genre to what I wanted to get out of it as a piano player. And took some lessons in Arizona, went to a semester at Berkeley in Boston, and just talked to a lot of people from LA, practiced on my own. I took a semester after I graduated college from Embry-Riddle at UTEP of playing drums in the rhythm section at the UTEP for the UTEP lab band. Yes, I did say playing drums. Ruben Gutierrez was playing piano, but I played drums when I was in high school, so I still had those chops back then. But you learn how to become part of a rhythm section, and it carries over to my piano playing. So it's just ever learning, ever listening to music, ever watching how the professionals are doing it and applying it to your technique, everything. It's just all this absorption going on. And it just goes on and on and on. I still do it these days. I still love listening to music. I still love practicing. Of course, I got a grand piano downstairs in my studio. So, you get into your own world and practice on your voice, practice on your sound. But now it's mixed in with, now I'm so busy teaching. I'm so busy recording, so busy making films. So I still practice, but there's a lot of other facets that go on too.
And how do you see, would you say that music has the bigger role in your life, or is it productions? I'm pretty sure it might be music, right? That has like
you know what? You're the second or third person that's asked me that over the past 2 weeks, because Border Lords, the film's coming out, and a lot of people think, oh, he's getting away from music. and going into film production. Let me set the record straight right here. I'm going to play music till the day I die. Probably the day I die, the night before, I'm going to have a gig. I love music. It's in my passion. However, my dad got me into loving film, and he and I always watch films and everything. So I've always loved films, always fascinated how the way they were made, etc. I used to make animated cartoons when I was young, and I'm fascinated by just filmmaking, cartoon making, movie making, Hollywood, a whole thing. And that's what it drives me as far as making films. And I love independent film and everything. So yeah, I like it. And Borderlords is my fourth feature. We've been doing it for 25 years now. And we're going to continue, but it's just so much work. But it's one of those things that where, we've put, thanks to the pandemic, it took us like 4 or 5 years, but generally it takes about 2 years. We put a lot into it, and then we take a break. So I go more into music. So
what is Borderlands about? What got you inspired to make that?
Borderlords. Yeah, people make that mistake. Borderlords, not Borderlands. Borderlords. Don't worry, it's a common mistake. Borderlords is a fictional crime drama. It's been going on for 20 years. We started Borderlords 1 in 2002. Borderlords 2 came out in 2009. And now Thursday, December 23rd at the Plaza Theater downtown, we're going to premiere Borderlords 3 Bloodlines. And it's about, it started off as a fictional crime family here in El Paso vying for power. Power, not only drugs, but just power in general here on the border. And there's a lot of other elements involved that comes from out of town and everything. And it's not only sicarios and the Hispanic culture. We have the Black culture, Black Panthers. We have people coming in from Europe, the mafia, everything. It's all mixed in. That's our awesome. Crazy, twisted story that we came up with. And you got to see the third one, how we took it too.
I'm excited. And so with that, I want to touch into any music artists or any film producers that are watching. How is your creative process like? What really inspires you, and how do you get going on really producing anything that you do? Where do you get your inspiration?
Anything that I do, first of all, it comes with an idea. I get ideas. I watch film. I watched a lot of film before we started writing the screenplay for Borderlords. But let me try the music. For the music part, it just comes with hearing something, getting an idea anywhere. A lot of my songs, I get, I don't know if I should be saying, I get in the shower. I'm just thinking music. I think music a lot. And I come up with an idea and everything. And I got one of my most popular tunes, Snowbound, was in the shower on a Saturday morning. And then I go immediately, after I get dressed, of course, I go immediately and write down the idea, the musical idea. Now with software, we can do it on our computers. Yeah. And then we develop it. From there, we just develop the idea, develop the melody, develop the sound, develop the rhythm. And then it evolves into a song or demo of a song. And from there, I bounce it off other musicians, and it just evolves even more. So that's more or less how I get the idea for my music on doing that. It really comes. And then when I'm playing, when I'm playing gigs or whatever, I say, hey, I like what I did there. So I save it, I record it and everything. And it just grows from ideas. I got that kind of technique from Chuck Mangione, which I saw him in an interview. And he says, yeah, he has all these box of rhythms and ideas he pulls out and he brings, and he just creates songs around him. I do the same thing too. I have all these ideas on my computer and everything. I say, okay, starting my new album. Let me see what I thought about a couple of years ago. And then it just keeps on developing. And I got right now in the can about 15 to 20 songs in the can for developing. So that's how I do it with the music, and then watching other musicians, that gives me ideas and inspiration. For film, it's just, watching film, coming up with an idea. And then with the producer, Mark Love, we just talk, hey, let's do this, let's do that. And then we just brainstorm. And then it just goes from there with the screenplay, and then getting all the production together and everything, casting, and it just builds and builds and builds. It's a harrowing process, but it's fun. It's a labor of love.
What I really love about film is that like you can imagine anything and bring it to life, like literally anything that you can set your mind to and everything too. I also wanted to
you can.
Yeah, you really can. I want to touch back to how you grew up in New York and then you left to Japan and you came here in El Paso. How was that whole shift for you? How was that whole
the New York part I barely remember. I was about a year old. and things come into focus when, basically born in New York. My dad got shipped to Germany. We took a ship back in those days to Germany, according to my mom, and I was crying the whole way. And then got to Germany, stayed a few months in Germany, and then my dad got transferred to Okinawa and took a ship. And check this out. Woo! We took a ship from Europe all the way to Japan, and that's going through the Panama Canal. That's when Panama Canal was made way before them. I'm not that old, but we took a ship to the Panama Canal and ended up in Japan. And from what my mom told me, it was like about a 4 or 5 day trip, you know, because back in those days, you know, army families took ships, you know, military ships and everything. Crazy. And then we were in Japan, and that's when I have my first more or less cognitive thought, remembering Japan and loving the music, loving the culture. To this day, Asian food is one of my favorite foods. And coming from Japan, my dad got stationed here. He had his choice, either El Paso or North Carolina. Voila. You know, so we're here, and we came here in the 70s, and you know, went to school here, grew up here, everything. I call myself an El Pasoan, and I got, you know, and really started loving music here. You know, thanks to my mom, of course, but really started loving the culture, the music, jazz, everything.
And how did you see that all shape and like really help out your music career when you were building it here?
Just experiences. You know, my dad loved R&B. He listened to R&B all the time. So, you know, let's face it, if you're African American, chances are your father or grandfather listened to the classic R&B artists of yesteryear, and you grew up listening to that. And I'm no different. My family and everything, and R&B just got soaked up in me. I love it, and it shows in my music, and that kind of cultivated me. And then, of course, playing in band, you know, at Canyon Hills Middle School and at Irvin High School, that really developed the music chops, the learning, the music theory, all that stuff that went behind it. And when I was a senior in high school, I wrote my first jazz arrangement, and went from there. And it was exciting times because I just loved music. We played it all the time. But,
and you ended up going also internationally and nationally with your Sun City Nights. What is that about? And Sun City at Night, what is that about and everything? Like,
Sun City at Night was probably the first one that went national, that we put on a national. I was with the Voyager recording label back in the late 80s, early 90s. And thanks to them, top-notch mixing, top-notch production, top-notch mastering. And then that's the one that just, you know, that kind of catapulted me on, you know, that level to where it did very well here in El Paso, the region. And then it was the first one to be picked up by European radio stations, by Japan radio stations. And from there, we, you know, that's when I got the got the buzz, you know, and got the itis to make more music. And I made a lot of music back in those days in the 90s, putting out albums, Modern Session. We put out Nocturnal. We put out Embrace, Living for Your Love, et cetera, et cetera. And then I got with a record label. After that, I got with a record label in Europe that really got it all over the world. I mean, it was great. It got a lot of notoriety thanks to Sun City at Night, and it still does well today. Got a lot of notoriety from producing and recording those songs. And from there, you know, especially in Tornillo at Sonic Ranch, learned a lot about production and how to really put down music, the best way to put down music, and the more efficient and more musical way to record a record. Learned a lot out there.
And I heard a lot about Sonic Ranch too. I hear a lot of mentions about it. And
oh yeah,
it really helped shape.
They are the best, probably the best studio, definitely within the Southwest. You know, a lot of top artists go out there to record.
I agree. And also, I also want to talk about your Billy Towns collection as well. What you put out there, why you put it out there, and the special meaning behind the whole Billy Towns collection.
Yeah, good question. We put out, I would say before the Billy Towns collection, I had 4 or 5 albums out. So people were asking, you know, hey man, we want to get this one. So I just took the top most played songs from each of those albums and made a collection, you know, of it. I think it's about, okay, I got to cheat. Here it is, by the way. I got to cheat.
Awesome, cool.
It is 16 tunes.
16
tunes. And we put together, did very well. And that was one of my first one on Shade Records, when we developed Shade Records, one of the first ones.
And I read about Shape Records. That was one of your first record labels you put out, or?
That actually my third record label, but my first one that I totally, we owned. Myself and Steve McKagan back in 1997. We said, hey, we can do this. We have an idea. We got a lot of experience, learned about distributing. Back in those days, you distributed by hand in record stores. Of course, obviously it's different now, but we learned that. And then we put it together. We had a plan. I always have a plan for everything. We had a plan. We put together Shade Records and it did very well. And it still goes on. All my albums are released on Shade Records, and now we could expand it. Shade Films has Borderlords, of course.
And if you were to pick one, If you were to pick
Say it again?
if you were to pick one song in your collection or your albums, which one would you pick that has the most strongest meaning to you, and what do you hope that people get
Probably
out?
Sun City at Night, because we play that a lot. Sun City, it was dedicated to my mom and everything. Sun City at Night, that's easily the strongest one, because
Yeah.
we played a lot and it has a lot of meaning, and wrote it for my mother and all that. So Shade Records came along, and God, Shade Records is going on 24 years now. 24 years.
Yeah, and it's still hitting big. Right?
Yeah, and now expanded with Shade Films, and who knows, we have for Borderlords, we're planning on getting on Netflix, Hulu, all that stuff. So awesome. Everything yields something. So. And
throughout your whole journey and your successful path, what challenges did you really face? Maybe some type of sacrifices you had to make to keep going that you're glad that you pushed through because something big came out of that. Of course, success is you never see maybe your failures or your hardships.
Probably. Well, it's maybe I've been very busy on that. The sacrifices, probably your time with your family a little bit. But even though I'm with them a lot, but it's it's a lot of work to do this. And let's face it, it's only about 3 or 4 of us within this whole thing. And it was more back then, but the pandemic has kind of whittled us down. I mean, enough said there. So it's just, it's just so much work, but I love to do it, so much work and everything. And probably I could probably put in more practice time and everything, but generally, I looking back, I have no real regrets. I love it because I paced myself, and I'm proud, patting myself on the back, that I've kind of paced myself and planned on a few things to make sure everything works out. It's not perfect, but it's been working okay.
And it always goes back to if you're loving what you're doing every day, it doesn't get hard for you. You enjoy that it gets.
Oh yeah, that's exactly
it. Hard.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lot of work, creating music, playing, and doing film and everything. It's a lot of work, but it's it's passion. You gotta love it. And teaching, I love teaching. I look forward with teaching my students, and both in teaching them at EPCC with audio production and film, and learning how to use software. And at Coronado High School, the young jazz musicians love that too. So.
And then, how important do you think it is for any individual to stay creative? I've seen a lot of friends of mine who especially when people get that negative feedback of no, you can't be a photographer, you can't be this and that, and so they end up giving up on their creative talent. How important do you think it is to keep going in the creative talent regardless?
First of all, I tell people, and somebody told me, and I took that advice: don't let anybody dictate what you're going to do in the future, or what you want to do, or what your passion is. If you have a passion on something, you figure out how to do it and go for it. Bottom line, go for it, and don't, it's a classic. Don't let anybody bring you down, tell you, oh, you can't do this like that, because it gets in their mind. Don't do that. You can do that if you have the passion for it. If you have the zest for wanting to do whatever you want in the arts, in business, sports, whatever, do it, and let yourself tell you, okay, I can do this or I can't do this. But don't let any external voice saying you can or can't, and just keep it going. Keep it going. And you know what? And the main thing is, nobody told you it was going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. To make some things go right, it's going to be hard. So how much, either you're going to work for it or you're not going to work for it.
Exactly. I
tell my students, work in equals work out. Simple as that.
I love that. And of course, with all of it, there's always going to be a lot of mistakes coming through.
I've made so many mistakes, but you learn from it. You learn from mistakes, you move on. Yeah.
And also with kind of everything that you've done, what has probably been something that I guess pushed you back a little bit, but you're glad that happened because it helped you grow as whether it's as a person, as a musician, as a film producer. What is something back, but you're glad that?
Yeah, there's something that happened in the studio that was very negative. And to make a long story short, I learned, it pushed back on me in the studio. This is years ago too, but I learned from it, and I said, you know what, that will never happen to me again, and it never has. And I learned from it to where, you realize it's all about growing. We're going to make mistakes. Wow, I see mistakes made by young musicians and everything, by older musicians and everything. Going to make mistakes, but you learn from it and try not to do it again. And it definitely happened to me, but I chalked it up that will never happen to me again. And then you just get to another level, and it makes you more professional, makes you more proficient, makes you more efficient, and it makes you more punctual on doing what you're doing. So you just learn from it.
And I want to ask you this: what do you really think about taking every opportunity that comes to you, or would you not take every opportunity that comes to you?
Well, it depends. I would take every opportunity. You have to sift
right
through what's working for you, what's not, And that's where it comes on your research. What's going to work for you? What's best for you? Because you take every opportunity, you may waste time, you may waste money, you may get frustrated, you may get upset and everything, things that didn't work out. So do your research on everything you're about to embark on. Do your research. Just don't say, yeah, I'll do it, because you're going to bite off more than you can chew. And people will expect things of you. That's the thing. You tell some people, hey, I'll do something, they're going to expect you to do that, because if you renege, and you don't do it or you don't show up, then your reputation takes a big hit.
Right.
And it'll always be attached to you. So that's why you have to be very careful on what you're going to embark on, what you're going to do, because people will count on you to do certain things.
Right. And what I guess, like, as an artist too, there are a lot of artists who take a mental toll with it, as far as like, just it affects them mentally. What type of, like, I guess, advice would you give them to like help themselves in like their mental way of like pursuing art?
I would say in their mental way, go think about and keep in mind what makes you happy. What part of the artistry makes you happy? Whether you dance, maybe whether you create art, whether you love film, whether you love music. Hell, I even go to sports, because I played basketball when I was in college. Everything. What makes you happy? And get into the mental feeling. Understand what makes you happy, and kind of get rid of all the negative things that will detract you or put yourself on a borderline depression on things. Just what makes you happy, and keep with it, and keep the mind on it, and surround yourself with people who will make you happy, because that tends to keep you more pepped up and going towards your goals. Because if you surround yourself with negative things, or if you do negative things, I think you know what I'm talking about, that's going to bring you down. That's going to bring you down. And so keep, go ahead.
Oh, and also like resources. What resources did you have? Because a lot of people think that they need to have the most like expensive or like modern type of equipment like that to like produce music, make films and all that. What resources did you?
Oh gosh. We teach that, one thing, if you took my class at EPCC, you learned that not just because you have the most expensive resources or have the latest this or the latest that or all this software and everything doesn't mean you can produce a top quality project. It's the bottom line. I know people with the most minimal of software, minimal of hardware and everything that produce unbelievable music that is award winning. Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam, who produced Janet Jackson, showed us that. Right. They had the oldest equipment, yet they had Grammy hits, made millions throughout. It's, yes, it's good to get the best equipment. Yes, I'm not saying don't get good equipment, but learn how to use that good equipment and how to apply it and how to make it work for you. That's what you do. Yeah, the equipment's expensive for a reason, because it can really do well for you if you know what you're doing. But just because people buy it for you or you get it and you have it and all that, and it's nice and shiny, doesn't mean you're going to go and create something, because you can make something that it flops just as well with good equipment and with bad equipment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The reason I asked this, a lot of people always say like, oh, you got lucky because you met a certain person, or you got lucky because you have this and all that. The moment of the truth is that no, you didn't get lucky. You really actually just worked on your talent and you just practiced at it.
Yeah. I mean, people, luck does play. You happen to be playing and you run into something, and it's happened to me. You ran into certain people. Yeah, it's luck, but like you said, Isaac, you have to prepare yourself with the talent, with the mindset, with the equipment, with your background, everything to prepare yourself that when that chance comes to where somebody says, hey, I like this and that, then you're ready and everything. And you know what? Those people would not have come to you. Let me tell you a little secret. It's not necessarily that much luck. People will come to you and gravitate towards you, all the big people, when they see talent or when they see something in you that they can benefit from them, or they can make positive. Mm-hmm. So if you're something that's haphazard in your talent, your style, whatever, chances are they're not going to gravitate towards you. But if you're something to where, hey, there's a talent, they will gravitate towards you. So it's not necessarily luck. You've worked hard to increase your talent and improve what you can do talent-wise.
Exactly. And then how do you stay up with like local trends? Maybe even tying back to the whole pandemic part. Did the pandemic ever like have an adjust towards you where like you shifted towards another gear? Did the pandemic ever like affect you in any way where like you just did something else due to the pandemic?
Yes and no. I will say this: the pandemic of last year, practically all of last year, shut us down. I was doing zero playing.
Yeah.
But the good thing about it, Isaac, is the film. I said, okay, not gigging, not of course everybody lost. We all lost it. But what I did is I got the good software. everything. And I worked on my film, Warlord 3. The good thing that came out is I did a lot of editing, a lot of stuff, created a lot of music for my film. And that's why I'm prepared to present it now. But it helped me now that I was locked into my computer. I just worked. So it gave me a lot of time. So that was a good thing. However, I missed playing. It kind of messed with me emotionally because I was like, God, I need to play. And finally we got to play and we did it. But man, it was a tough year last year on not playing and everything. But I did a lot of work as far as for the film.
Yeah. And that's something that we try to do when we were like during the whole pandemic. We try to do like this virtual concert series where like we would invite artists out to like a certain location.
And we did that. We did 2 virtual concerts. Yeah.
And I feel like that had a lot of help because it did affect a lot of people. Another thing that I kind of want to see was like, how did you stay up with local trends? How do you keep going and like pursuing? And also, what would you really recommend, or not just recommend, but suggest for like anybody starting out with either industry, the music or the filmmaking side? What is the first thing you would recommend for them to learn or to get?
The first thing is learn the basics. Good software is not going to make you know the film or know music. All it is, good software just allows you to do things digitally. But if you want to stay with the trend of everything, learn the basic of what makes good film. Watch film, listen to directors, listen to actors of why they have their passion and what they do. This is all grassroots. It's not about software. First of all, you have to learn of what makes a good film, why the actors do what they do, why the directors do what they do, why film writers do what they do, why do they write films, why do they need to show films and everything. What's the whole bottom line of why this film is here? Why are we watching this film?
Now, would you
learn that?
Would you agree that it's a lot of practice and nothing's ever perfect?
Yeah, it's a lot of practice, a lot of watching, a lot of learning, and now I'm to the point where I love it. I still like to watch film, talk to director or listen to directors, find out what their passion is. Now that we have online and we have cable or streaming and all that, you can do that and see what's there, read about them, all that. But learn the passion. Then when you learn the passion, then I would say the next step is become an apprentice. Go on some sets, maybe help out a director or producer and everything, and see how it's made. Whether it's an independent or major, see how it's made. Same thing with music. Learn the music, learn the artist, learn the practice, of course, practice. And then understand, that you have a talent for something before you want to make it public. Because we see a lot of people that, they say, okay, they think they've arrived, but they haven't really, did anything or practice or learn their craft. And then when they start doing something, it ends up like, it ain't right. It ain't right. And not that I'm perfect and everything, but man, I try my best to try to put out, whether it's music, Isaac, on my next album or all my music or whatever, or it's film, I try my best within the resources that I have to put out the best product I can.
Yeah.
The best product and understand the culture of what's going on. You don't have to stay too much on the cutting edge, but you have to understand what's selling, what are people watching these days, what's the heartbeat versus what are they watching yesteryear. It's good to be classic, but you want to make sure you stay within the culture of what people are watching today,
right? And
everything, or listening to, for that matter. And those are different sounds and everything. Different film techniques, different shots, etc.
Well, what do you think about? Okay, so 3 different questions I have here, and they're all to certain aspects. It's pride and ego, and what would you advise people who have like a lot of ego or too much pride that they think that their project's either the best and they won't listen to anybody's advice? What do you kind of see?
It's good to have an ego. I say it's good to have an ego and everything like that, but realize that it works both ways. Okay, you may have an ego thinking you're best, but there's a critical audience out there that's going to give it to you back honestly. You may not always like what you hear. And I've been on that side too. I've been on that side. You just learn to take it and hopefully you absorb it and learn how to make yourself better.
Feedback. And how did you deal with that? Like, how did you deal with both the negative and the positive feedback?
I listened to both. I just accent on both. Accent on the positive of what people liked about my music, about what I did in films, and then on the negative, try to see their way of how can it be better for that audience. Is that your audience? And how do you want to make it? Some people, just be negative, and you have to learn how to sift that. But people will have some good constructive stuff to say, and you say, yeah, okay, see it from their point of view on what, because that's the thing. I always like, even with music, when I mix and everything, do it, I always bounce it off producers or people that know my music. What do you think? And they'll be brutally honest with me. And then 9 times out of 10, okay, we'll make this adjustment, changes like that. Same thing with film.
Absolutely.
Same thing in film. Just because you're a director, yeah, you have final say, but it's good to get opinions from everybody to see how they see it.
Right.
You know, so, but I absorb it. I take it. I use it as feedback. You know, if they're respectful criticism, respectful. You don't want people just to say something just to spout off venom. You know, you don't need that. But just respectful. You absorb that. Say, okay. You know, and most of the time it's very much respectful criticism on everything. You know, my stuff, the film. I will let you know, Borderlords 3 is not going to be perfect. Mm-hmm. I'll let you know that right now. You know, then again, you let me know a film that is. I see a whole bunch of Star Wars back there. I love Star Wars, but not all those Star Wars films were perfect.
And that's why I keep going back to nothing is really perfect. It's perfect for who the artist is, because that's a whole definition of art and creativity. It's that you're able to just make the imperfectness of everything.
Yeah, and George Lucas, he knew that. You know, he accented on what people like. People like the story. People like the characters. That's why I see a Stormtrooper. That's why I see Darth Vader. That's why I see Boba Fett or the Mandalorian. Is it the Mandalorian? That's Boba Fett.
Mandalorian, Darth Vader. And
Mandalorian. You know, that's so. The positive is the characters are amazing in Star Wars. I love them too. You know, all that stuff. You know, but the negatives. I saw George Ware got the criticism. You know, the story. This. Why do you have this character? Right. Jar Jar Binks. Blah 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 blah. You know, but he learned. He learned on what to make within the story to make it more appealing and to grow his audience. You know, because he has a core of people who really like Star Wars. Just like the Borderlords, we have a core of people who like our story, who like our story, and we build on this. How we build on the positives to how to make that core bigger and bigger and bigger. It's not going to always. There's going to be negatives, but that's how you learn. And George Lucas learned. He's now worth like $4 or $5 billion. I think he learned.
Pretty sure he learned.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And so also the last two, and I really wanted to get your opinion on this is. What is your version of success? What do you think success, the term itself, means to you?
Success, to me, having good satisfaction and people coming up to me and say, you know what, we like smiles on people's face on whether it's music, live performance, or of course my films. Saying having good positive, because I know that kind of affirms that, you know, all the work that you put into it, and there's a lot of work involved, all the work you put into it means something. You know, and we can go on all this until the end of our lives on something, you know, provided we can do it, making people happy because we're artists. We're artists, and artists, we're out there. Our purpose for artists is to make humanity happy, to put a smile on humanity's face and put culture on it. Okay. There's artists and there's politicians. I try to do that. Okay. I like the artistry because you know what politicians do. You know, but artists, we're there to make people happy and give them some sense of culture and happiness in their lives. And that's what I try to do with my music or with my film. And bottom line. And success, once I do that, I am successful. I'm successful. Yes, it can mean, you know, finance, money and all that. Yes, it can be that, you know, but to me, it's just having people be happy and everything. And me having enough financial success that allowed me to keep on doing it over and over and over.
Exactly. And then that last question I really, really wanted to ask you, and I know it helps a lot of people, is compared to where you're at right now, what is something that you wish you would have known when you first got started?
You know, kind of dealing with certain people, knowing the background of where they're coming from instead of me going one way, that way. But that's kind of weird. But it's just, you know, dealing with people. But you learn how to approach people, learn how to see who's more or less a good should be part of your support system and who shouldn't be. You know what? I wish my radar, there it is. I wish my radar 20, 30 years ago was a little bit stronger on people.
Yeah.
Now my radar, I got to admit, not perfect, but my radar is pretty strong on what's good for me and what's not good for me. My radar is pretty strong on that.
And
because you'll save time, save money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Exactly. All that.
And time's important, especially when you're pursuing any different projects. Times is an essence. Mm-hmm. And so what's next for you? Give yourself a little shout out, you know.
Okay. What's next for me, since you asked, can I share the screen, by the way?
Go for it. Yeah, I think so.
What's next for me, since you've asked, is there, you see it?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Borderlords 3 is my next film that's going to be premiering Thursday, December 23rd at the Plaza Theater. Tickets, you can buy tickets at the box office, and soon you'll be able to buy it online. And yeah, that's next for me. I'll be concerning myself with that for the next all the way through the rest of the year. And then I'm gonna take a break because this takes a lot of work, and start working on my sax player Neff Milan and his album. He's an incredible saxophonist. He needs to working on his for 2022, and then my album will probably start late 2022, 2023. Working on my 17th, Isaac, my 17th album.
Dang, that's an amazing achievement.
Oh God, it's a lot of work, man. A lot of work.
It is, and that's I guess that's the whole topic.
But you know what? I love it. Every single album, I love it.
Exactly.
And a lot of fun, and I get to use some of the world's best musicians. That's the fun part.
Exactly.
I got a lot of friends in LA, New York, Dallas, Houston, Chicago. I get to use some of the world's best musicians. I love it. I love it.
You just got to love what you do. It all comes down to that. Not loving what you're doing, you're gonna think of it as work, but it's not work. The fact that you're at your 17th,
exactly
17th or 18th.
My 17th album,
yeah. The fact that you're there, that means it's amazing. It's amazing for you.
Oh yeah, and you know what? Every album I put out, like I said, I put out a plan. I get my passion for it, everything, and it just becomes more fun. And I look back and say, wow, and it gets better. Technology gets better. I'm fortunate. A friend, my producer, music producer, George Ware, he's a beta tester for these companies that put out software, and he has the world's best software for producing music, and I get to use that. So I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate and lucky. That he has the best software out there. So our album sounds great.
Really and when you look back at everything that you've done, what goes in your head? What do you think about?
I think I think about my parents who are not here to see the things that I've done, especially in the last 10 to 15 years. Yeah. That's what I think about. I wish they were here to see it and everything, because when they were alive, they supported me like crazy. Yeah. And they would be going crazy with all the stuff that's been going on over the last 10 to 15 years with me. So that's what I look back on. But you know what? I do have great family here to support me. And, I just look back on the fun times that we did and to put together my music, my films and everything. You look back, but, I look towards the future too. There's a lot of good things on the horizon too. Exactly.
And would you agree that having a big support system is key?
Oh yeah. God, yes. You need it. You need it. Good support system on everything and keep in good contact with that support system, because that's going to keep you going forward.
Exactly. Well, Billy, I appreciate you so much for coming on the show. We're looking for your Border Lords movie. I'm excited for that one. I'm gonna go check it out. So definitely, I appreciate it so much. And yeah, appreciate you.
And thank you for having me on this El Paso Creatives podcast. It's really a lot of fun. And anytime, man, anytime, just give me heads up anytime.
Awesome, Billy. Thank you so much for being on.
All right. Thank you very, very much, Isaac. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.